May 2026. Two men, two superpowers, one table, and the fate of the entire global economy, hanging in the balance. What happened inside the ancient walls of Zhongnanhai, China's seat of power, over 2 days in Beijing changed everything. To understand why the world held its breath, you need to understand the tension that had been building for years. For nearly a decade, the United States and China had been locked in an economic Cold War. Tariffs, trade bans, tech restrictions, a rivalry that touched everything, from the chips in your phone to the price of your groceries. By 2026, the average U.S. tariff on Chinese goods stood at 47.5%. China's tariff on American goods, nearly 32%. Two-way trade had collapsed from a peak of $690 billion in 2022 to just $415 billion in 2025. The world's two largest economies were bleeding each other dry, and the world was bleeding with them. On the morning of May the 14th, Air Force One touched down in Beijing. But this was no ordinary presidential visit. Trump had brought with him a team that read like a who's who of American capitalism. Elon Musk of Tesla, Tim Cook of Apple, Jensen Huang of Nvidia, Larry Fink of BlackRock, Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg. Some called it smart diplomacy, others called it theater. But one thing was certain, the message was clear. America meant business. The bilateral meeting at the Zhongnanhai Garden, China's most secretive and storied seat of power, lasted 2 hours and 15 minutes. Behind closed doors. When Trump emerged, he had one word for it: great. But what happened inside was anything but simple. She warned Trump that the Taiwan issue, if not, and these were his words, handled properly, could lead to clashes and even conflicts. A direct warning, delivered face to face. Taiwan, the island that both sides claimed to care about, but defined completely differently. The tripwire that could ignite the Pacific. But amid the tension, came the deals. And they were big. China agreed to purchase 200 Boeing aircraft, a lifeline for the American aerospace giant. Beijing also committed to buying American oil, agricultural products, and investing hundreds of billions of dollars in companies led by the executives who had made the trip. She called the meetings historic and a landmark. The two sides agreed on a framework of strategic stability, a 3-year roadmap for keeping the peace between the world's two superpowers. And then came the bombshell that no one saw coming. Trump revealed that she had personally promised him China would not supply military equipment to Iran. In a world where Iran had effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz, the lifeline for 20% of the world's oil, this was not a minor footnote. This was headline-shattering news. After the formal talks, Trump and she walked through the centuries-old gardens of Zhongnanhai, mostly out of earshot of reporters. They ate lunch together: kung pao chicken, scallops, stewed beef buns. The kind of meal that happens when two men are trying, at least for the moment, to be something other than rivals. Before boarding Air Force One, Trump did something unexpected. He invited Xi to Washington September 2026. She has not yet confirmed, but the world is watching. Markets responded immediately. Across Asia, Europe, and the Americas, stocks climbed. Supply chains exhaled. CEOs issued statements. But analysts urged caution. This is stabilization, not revitalization, said experts at HSBC. The structural rivalry between the US and China, in AI, semiconductors, military power, hadn't disappeared. It had merely paused. The average tariff on Chinese goods entering the US was still 47.5%. Tens of thousands of businesses were still caught in the crossfire. And for all the handshakes and garden walks, the world's two most powerful men still fundamentally disagreed on almost everything that matters. History doesn't move in straight lines. It lurches, it pauses, it threatens, and occasionally, it surprises you. The Beijing Summit of 2026 was not a peace treaty. It was not a reset. It was two giants, exhausted from fighting, agreeing, for now, to lower their fists. Whether that holds, whether September brings Xi to Washington, whether the deals signed become deals delivered, only time will tell. But for 2 days in May, in the ancient gardens of Zhongnanhai, the world watched, and for once it didn't look away.